Hey there, everybody. Nice to see ya. Oh, hang on. I'm getting my microphone over here. It's miles away from me. I probably sound like I'm on the other side of the world. Sorry for noises. Ooh, I'll try not to blow your eardrums. How's that? Is that okay? Can everybody hear me okay? Let me just pop the chat out here so I can see everything. You guys have been busy while I've been away. Thanks for the person who said that I should put, I should schedule my next live stream, because obviously it has worked with all you fine folks. Yeah, lots of early people today. Thanks, John Doe. Yeah, I will, man. I quite enjoy these live streams. They're a lot of fun. But it is time for coffee. Dragon World? D&D History, where did dragons come from? What are the draconic types? Yeah. Hey, Bryce, thanks. Thanks for the super chat donation. Just a reminder to everybody that I extend the live chat by a minute for every single dollar, which can result in a live stream like last one, which went for 2 hours. 2 hours at least. So, yeah. But also, it's a really great way if you want to get my attention, if you've been asking me the same question a number of times, because I tend to get to a question and then sort of rant on about it for a few minutes. Also, if you hear gurgling noises, it's my stomach, because I haven't had breakfast this morning, and I don't like saying the word diet. It's not a diet. I'm still eating food and stuff. I just changed my dietary habits, and it's working very well. If anybody is on Facebook and they follow the Gamers for Weight Loss, I'm a member of that, actually, and I posted. I'll be posting like meal pictures of food that I cook for myself. I'm not that late. I was like 3 minutes late. Sorry. I was actually making the pot of coffee. I was, and I had a very, very good reason for being late. I was finishing up the audio editing on my next video, so that'll be uploaded later on today. Well, today for me, later on tonight for you. So, yeah, that's a good reason, I think. Well, it was nice to see you, Sanchskate. It is another glorious day on Doral. It is true. So yeah, I've got a few things, just basic general topics that I wanted to talk about, unless anybody has any questions that'll just sort of set us all off. In the meantime, hello Sketch, hello Fiona, hello Kedron, hey Jared, Danny, nice to see you again, all of you regulars. So as Bryce and Jared will tell you, we had a game of D&D yesterday over the Discord channel, and I was DMing, and they were playing characters who were first level characters that were native to the actual city of Doors, the Cage, Sigil, and it is a Planescape adventure. Hey Hoove, good to see you too, man. Alright, we're 3 minutes up on I'll keep it running total. 3 minutes up on extending the live stream. Yeah, that's true, Flying X-Blade. I do owe you all $3. Tell you what, I'll put one less ad on the next video. Have you noticed that YouTube seems to have put more ads like per ad slot? So you'll like click on skip the ad and it'll pop it to another ad, or is that just me? Has anybody else noticed that? You're new to D&D Sketch. New to D&D, haven't been able to play yet, so I'm here to learn all I can. Spicy discussion can be on Discord. That's true, yeah. If you got any questions or discussions that are not suitable for the live stream here on YouTube, because it is a public forum, and I do have a filter on for foul language and things like that, unnecessary language you could say, we can talk about all of that on Discord and post memes and all that sort of stuff. You have noticed that, yeah. That is not my doing, by the way. It is very good for the channels, the monetized channels, but yeah, I do encourage people to get YouTube Red. That's still, like, if you watch my videos using YouTube Red, it all comes down to watch time and my longer play format, because my videos, I don't care how long my videos are as long as I cover all the topic that needs to be covered. And people generally watch a bit of my video, or they stream it when they're driving into work or at work and just listening to it. So that's perfectly good for me, because the longer format benefits the YouTube Red, because you get paid per minute, basically, a view. Yeah, Gerbil, one of the admins at the Discord channel, is an absolute meme lord. So yeah. So yeah, I wanted to talk about Sigil and Planescape in general, and the current state of things, because the factions of Sigil have changed quite a lot from a lot of the material which is people will generally watch online, particularly the Gentleman Gamer and his guide to Sigil and its factions, Planescape and its factions, because there was a war, a multiversal war. And the factions basically got kicked out. All of the factotums, the leaders of the factions, got kicked out of Sigil. And they've been exiled, essentially. So they've shifted their activities to bases and things that they had off-world. Or, if you could call Sigil a world, out of the hub. He doesn't know it's D&D. Danny, that's hilarious. I think I talked my friend into watching your live stream, and he hates D&D, but he doesn't know it's D&D, so try not to say D&D and he won't notice. Well, we screwed the pooch on that one. Should you tune out so we don't get spoiled? No, I'm not going to talk about any specifics of the game that's coming up, mainly because we've already gone on a tangent. Remember where we rolled on that random table from Kobold Press? From this table, treasures and trinkets, I loot the body, complete with coffee stains. So as soon as we rolled on that, and you got that piece of twine with the chalk marks on it and things, you guys started pursuing that and turning that into a quest line entirely on your own. So we already basically diverged from what I had planned immediately, pretty much on the first session of play. And I know you guys are going to pursue that, because you went to all of that effort of putting that corpse on ice in the rather creepy taxidermy shop in Sigil. For the community, I've listed a link to the map that I'm using. It's a hot linked map, basically. It's got a listing of all of the pages for with specific references to all the locations which are described in Sigil. Yeah. I'm also going to put up a link, or possibly even post the entire table that I occasionally use for whenever you've got a city map and it's got a lot of blank buildings in it. I've got a table that you can roll on. It's a D100 or possibly even a D1000 table of different random shops and things that you can populate your city with. So whenever a player character goes into a random building, you roll on this table, then you write the number that you get on that little building square, and that gives you the description of what that building is. Whether it's a leather tanner's, an expensive magical curio shop, cartographers, scribes, lawyers, you name it. So you can easily populate your entire city, and you don't have to prepare anything in advance. And as the characters adventure around in the city, you gradually fill in the map with all these numbers. Ancient Red Dragon will win every time against the Beholder, because they've fought them many times. If it's an Ancient Red Dragon, it's probably fought a Beholder before. And Beholders will stay out of the way of an Ancient Red Dragon, generally speaking. They'll make good use of them, but they won't directly go up against one. They're too smart for that. Corpse on Ice is your new death metal band name. It is a good name for a band. Corpsicle. What would be the first track of your album? Aboliths or Illithids? I would say combine forces and take over everything. Besaid. Your dad in real life is missing some twine and chalk marks on it to measure out the chairs at the meeting hall. Well, if he did actually get transported into the mythical world of Sigil, he came to a sticky end and ended up just a torso being run over by traffic in the middle of the road. So, hopefully not. If he's still around, then he's probably fine. Sorry, what was the question, Danny? Half a vampire. You're asking me a lot of questions about vampires. If all a vampire cares about is blood, it's like so a heroin addict, for instance, has got goals and motivation outside of their habit, but it will all be twisted around that habit. So yeah, I often said that if there was some non-harmful way to motivate people the way that a serious drug addiction does, everyone will be rich, honestly, because it takes so much money to support that sort of habit. Roll up the comment section and you'll see it. Okay, I'll work for you, buddy. Of ultimate neutrality, or perhaps a crystal of ultimate neutrality, would it be possible to destroy the shard of ultimate evil? We know it's probably broken because the god of hell has it. No, he doesn't have the actual shard itself. No, that's still burrowing its way through the multiverse. Asmodeus has a piece, a tiny fragment of the shard of ultimate evil that's contained in a red crystal. Is that the question that you're asking about? And no, it's not possible to do anything about it. Essentially, you would need something like Tharizdun coming back and sacrificing his existence to contain the Shard of Ultimate Evil and spend the rest of eternity creating demi-planes constantly around it that it can corrupt and burrow through, and essentially creating an infinitely large, self-contained onion layer of trapped abyss, essentially. But there's no way that they can do anything about it. The only other thing they could possibly do is throw it back into the far realm and burrow through into another universe, another multiverse, and yeah, power through the other side. But they would have to get to it first, and that's the real crux of the issue: is how do you get to this thing which instantly corrupts anything that it's near? You can't manipulate it in any way without being corrupted by it, which raises some very interesting questions about what Obox Ob actually is. So I've really got to get around to it. Yeah, the Howling Dragons is a good band name. That's true. Yep, you made it on time, Chance. Hello, Endless Ocean. Hey, AJ. Oh, cool, you're streaming a game. Great. As far as I know, Jared, actually, you recorded that game of ours, didn't you? How did it turn out in the end? Did you get the sound qualities sorted out? Don't do that thing where we find a real door to the real world and our characters go through and to the house. No, I would never do that. Mainly because you guys in real life wouldn't stand a chance, you out of shape geeks. Your player characters would murder you. Or probably just steal everything in your house. Trinkets. Will I ever do a video on drakes from the Tyranny of Dragon's Law? I actually did do a fairly extensive video on drakes. I believe it's in my dragon playlist. Yeah, the drakes from the Tyranny of Dragons, I believe, are in there. Are there gods in the Far Realm? They're not recognizable as such. Not very many things in the Far Realm conform to our definitions that we use for things. What a primordial is, even what a living or non-living entity is questionable. Mainly because things are so incomprehensible. So you may be looking at a part of something because it's fractured through being in a multi-dimensional temporal state. So it exists across all time, therefore it cannot be killed. And it exists in multiple locations, but you'll never see all of it in one place. So that's like a 10th dimensional entity. Sorry about all the vampire questions. That's okay. That's why I'm here. Answer questions. If good aligned gods could make a shard of ultimate good, could they turn the demigorgon good or destroy the shard of ultimate evil? That is a question for your own universe. So in the D&D multiverse, per se, as far as we canonically know about it, that is impossible. But in your own home game, nothing is impossible. But there has been no attempt to make any sort of change to the Shard of Ultimate Evil in the entire history of D&D lore. So yeah, it's just it's because the main problem with it, it's kind of like the Ring of Power in Lord of the Rings. Anybody who gets near it is corrupted by it mentally as well as physically. So it turns them evil. It just corrupts their mind. It is a psychic tool more than anything else. So if you imagine that it's got the ability to break through any planar barrier, the sort of thing that does that normally is magic, and magic is manipulated by mind more than anything else, by will. So it's kind of like a super divine morphic power point that's programmed to break open, and that's all it does. Break open and destroy natural order. That's what it does. It's a tool of chaos and evil. Yeah, well, it could be, Jared. So at the top of Mount Celestia is a mythical structure. It's a super fortress which is bedecked with all sorts of information about everything which is going on. So the fates and prophecies of all creatures that live in the material world. If you watch my video on Celestial, you'll hear me talking about that. And basically, if you're not a pure lawful good entity, you can't even get anywhere near that place. You'll just be burned to a cinder by holy light. And yeah, where that light emanates from is essentially the will of the multiverse. Manifest order pulsating out of there. But there is a portal through there, at the top of there, through to another multiverse. So maybe there is a Shard of Ultimate Good, but if you took the Shard of Ultimate Good away from Celestia, the natural order of the multiverse would break down, because it's pretty much one of the linchpins which is holding up reality. It's holding it all together after it was, well, basically smashed apart after the events of the Dawn War. Does clerical magic work in Sigil? A little bit. So you can still be a representative of a god in Sigil and channel divine power through your own will, so to speak. But the gods themselves can't take direct action, and they certainly can't step foot in Sigil. They just wink out of existence when they get there. It just doesn't contain them. You could say that their presence there is deemed unlawful. Would there be a different concept of the planes in the Underdark? So all of the different multiversal realities have got a slightly different version of the multiversal planes. And the Underdark, of course, is shaped by the people who live there, who live in a world of darkness. Some of the species there, there's one called the... they barely ever get mentioned. I think they're in one of the old... They might even be in the Fiend Folio. They're a very unremarkable species that live entirely underground, and they never come to the surface. And you can imagine that their version of the reality would be quite different, because they wouldn't have any concept of the sky or the celestial spheres or the sun or anything like that. So what's their afterlife like, and how does that influence the other planes of existence? So you could say that there's parts of the lower planes which have exist in darkness, which would be considered a paradise by these creatures. You know, their idea of paradise certainly wouldn't be beams of radiant light everywhere. Far from it. So they're not necessarily evil, but they're not aligned with goodness. They're not aligned with radiant light. How does AJ feel about E6 games? That is games that stop leveling at 6 or any level before 20. I'm fine with it. In fact, It's quite a good way of playing the game, actually, particularly for a limited campaign where you're just playing 3 or 4 sessions or something like that. If it's an extended campaign, it might be a little bit painful. But yeah. You're saying that the Shard of Ultimate Evil comes from the... No, it came through the Far Realm. Not comes from the Far Realm. It came from another multiverse entirely, and then broke through the far border onto the multiverse of D&D through the Far Realm. And it doesn't belong in the negative energy plane either. It's not a spear of the negative energy plane. Nope. Making a Shard of Ultimate Good that is the cost of making one may cause massive damage to the multiverse. That is, yeah. Yep. So the gods just don't risk it. They're barely holding things together as it is. Supremo Monster Laureate. If there was such a prize. What is this about? You mean this stream, sad kid? We're talking about the deep and dark and gnarly lore of Dungeons and Dragons. Also, I was creating, constructing some decks for Magic the Gathering Arena yesterday. I've been playing that pretty hard out, actually. It's really good fun. And I came up with a wicked green deck, which I call Instant Monster, which essentially you use some forests and some Llanowar elves, and there's another type of elf that tap it for one forest, 1 green mana. And as soon as you get a certain number of mana, you can cast a spell which you shuffle through. You draw the next 7 cards out of your deck of cards, and if one of them is a monster, you can put it immediately into play. And that is absolutely brutal. Because if you stack your deck with really, really gnarly monsters, so you've got basically nothing mid-range, you've got all little elves and things, and then you just shift to straight, gnarly, trampling, horrible monsters. And yeah, once it clicks and works, it's devastating. So I'm definitely a fan of green combo decks. I've come to the conclusion, but it was inspiring because I thought, what if you have items which instantly summon things, like a deck, like a bag of tricks, for instance, the ability to draw out these fluff balls and instantly summon like grizzly bears and things like that. So that technology, that magic technology, so to speak, already exists. Oh, Gerbil's here. The meme lord. See you later, Bryce. You hate magic, so you're going to go to bed. Ha! I'm going to play you in a game of magic one day, Bryce, and you'll change your ways. Do I have a favorite video, Edward, that I felt I learned a lot? Well, yeah. Pretty much a lot of my explorations into like cosmic stuff in D&D, I've really learned a lot. And all of my videos where I'm talking about things in the world of Faerun, I'm learning a lot about Toril as I go as well. Probably Demogorgon was one of the videos where I learned the most stuff. And also the video on the Dawn War. Oh boy, that's the most lore-dense, heavy-duty research video I've ever made, by far. And I got a lot of reactions from people of just like, whoa, I'm gonna have to watch that like 15 times just to understand what you were talking about. Jackson, thank you very much. Another extension of 5 minutes, up to 8 minutes past. Have I seen Tales from the Margrave by Kobold Press? Any thoughts? I have seen it. I haven't purchased it or read it yet. By the way, Kobold Press, I'm a massive fan of your work and your company, and if you ever want to sponsor me and send me stuff to review, and if anybody else is a massive fan or knows anybody at Kobold Press, send them my way. I'll give them free press for sure. Dragon Scale Armor, absolutely. Dragon Scale Armor is not as good as you would imagine it to be, because a lot of draconicness is tied in with their elemental power, and that's kind of active while they're alive. It dissipates pretty quickly when they die, or it dissipates into the immediate environment. Yeah, it's a dead universe because the Oberth killed it. Oh, what did you say to me, Fiona? I missed that. Where can I get the Dark Elf books that you mentioned in your last stream? Oh, you're talking about when I was talking about Drizzt. They're published by Wizards of the Coast themselves, or an associated publisher. You can get them through Drive-Thru. Can you get them through Drive-Thru RPG? Probably just Amazon, I would imagine, or Barnes and Noble, or Book Depository, or wherever you get lots of books in your locality. Tornado takes green and blue land, has flying and trampling. Yeah. Man. There is no way you can steal Gerbil's meme or title, because Gerbil just basically just throws down a very edgy meme. Meme lady, yes, I should say. I often think of Lord as a gender neutral title. Like, you know. Mechanus, yes. So I haven't actually made a proper video on Mechanus yet. I'm planning on doing that pretty soon. Merfolk. Oh, I hate fighting against Merfolk. Red, black, and green are my preferred colours, mainly red and black. I think one of the worst decks to go up against is a blue-black deck, definitely. Denial and destroy deck, or a bruising deck as they call them. Oh boy, blue's difficult to play against, particularly if you've got somebody who hasn't played blue a lot in Magic the Gathering Arena, because they have so many instants and interrupts that they need to go, no, I'm not going to play it now, no, I'm not going to play it now, no, I'm not going to play it now, but it holds up the play. So as you're doing something quickly, it pauses at every single step along your action, because it's waiting to get the yes or no from the other player, because they've got instants or interrupts that they could potentially play, which is kind of a giveaway that they have something that could play against you. But you can also bluff somebody pretty well with that sort of activity, and that's what makes playing against a blue player kind of difficult. That being said, I love playing blue decks myself because it's so much fun. Thanks, Edward. Famous D&D last words. But it's only a challenge rating 3. It's one of my favourite. So it's the Legend of Drizzt series is the ones I was talking about, Fiona. Yeah, the audiobooks aren't great. There is one which has got like Ice-T and Felicia Day and a bunch of other people. David Duchovny. But you're either a person who likes listening to audiobooks or you're not. Oh, the Erasers books are bad. Have you had a look at the different types of magic books? Like rune magic and all that sort of stuff. I think that's Kobold Press, I believe. I also really love the Raging Swan. Like I got the GM's Miscellany Urban Dressing and the GM's Miscellany Wilderness Dressing System Neutral Resource books, which I've printed out and bound myself. And these are just absolutely stock full of tables, charts and tables for all sorts of different, like hills, minor events that happen in hills. Number 33, weed-cloaked skeletons of 4 ogres. Their armor and weapons, weathered beyond use, lie in a narrow gorge. Number 83, large rocks tumbled down the hill across the party's path. Swamps and marshes, minor event. Number 32, the wind blows the stench of decay over the party. Number 62, a large bird sings at the party as it passes. Number 95, with a splash, a spear lands in a nearby pool. Where'd the spear come from? Coast, minor events on a coast. 19, as 18 above, which is a small skiff draws up to the beach and disgorges 2d4 smugglers. The smugglers attempt to remain undetected as they carry off their chests of valuables worth 500 gold pieces to avoid local taxation. Great stuff, man. So you can run a game just rolling tables all the time. It's fantastic. I've also got the dungeon dressing as well. So we've got urban, wilderness, and dungeon dressing, and you're pretty much covered for most things. What I'd like to see what Raging Swan produce is a GM's miscellany for otherworldly, and do tables for every single plane of existence. That would be fantastic for a Planescape game. And if they're looking for somebody to help them write that, I volunteer. And they've also got little fun things like stuff that you can loot off a body, things that you find in a goblin's pockets, for instance. Fantastic tables. I recommend them to anyone. Hey Mark. Hey Mimi. Nice to see you again. Carlos. Chance. Catharsis. Long time no see. Yeah, Modron designs they're alien, really. So they're not really designed to be something that's visually pleasing to us. They don't really make a lot of sense, really. Are they flesh? Are they mechanical? Are they yeah, what are they? Are they cyborgs? I know, Bromos. It's absolutely amazing. It's an amazing company. Big team of people. Could I please post a list of my recommendations for what, audiobooks? Again, I'm one of those people that doesn't really like audiobooks. I've got an Audible subscription that I cancelled because I got some stuff and I was getting charged for things that I wasn't using, so I just quit it. What book are you reading? I'm currently reading 2 books. The first one is, sorry for me squeaking around my chair. First one is this is the Legends of Drizzt series, by the way. This is the second. No, this is the book 5, I believe it is. Streams of Silver. This is the second book that R.A. Salvatore ever had published, and it's when Bruenor and Drizzt and Wulfgar go, and the Halfling go adventuring, looking for Mithril Hall. And it's also the introduction of Artemis and Triri, the assassin, and Canterbury's encounter with him. And my dad has also given me Arthur C. Clarke's and Michael Cubey McDowell's The Trigger, which I know absolutely nothing about, and I'm on page 9. I just started reading it last night, but he says I'm going to really enjoy it, and I trust my dad's judgment because he's the one who got me into sci-fi and fantasy in the first place. So yeah, that's what I'm currently reading, as well as lots and lots of material on Sigil, because I'm running an adventure there, so you'll see lots of printed out pages and things of stuff that I'm planning, which is all top secret. Any monsters that gain power as the PC's close distance and lose power as they gain distance? That's a specific question. Have you got something in mind, Flying X-Blade? Question, is Asmodeus' staff really a piece of the Shard of Evil, and where is that bird chirping? The birds are chirping outside because I live on an orchard. So birds, we've got free-ranging fowl, which are completely free-ranging all around the property. And it's also springtime here, so it's nesting season for blackbirds, starlings, and sparrows, which are types of finch. What was it? Question, yeah, it's really a piece of the Shard of Evil. It is, actually. Because Asmodeus, particularly in 4th edition lore, the Dawn War, he was originally a celestial that was assigned to guard the tomb of Tharizdun. So he became corrupted by the lure of the Shard as well. You presume that Modrons are magically constructed cyborgs? Kind of, yeah. They're anti-magic, really, so they exist because they must exist, because there's a necessity for them to exist. They're part of the mechanics. So the entire plane of Mechanus is like the underpinning machinery of the multiverse, so it's absolutely enormous. As those cogs turn around, they drive the orbit of planets, the heat and cold, order and chaos, everything. It's because of mechanics that you can have things like prophecies and stuff like that, because things follow a logical progression. Entreri, yeah, he didn't have a broken dagger at the start, that's for sure. He kicked the crap out of Cadbury and a couple of seasoned dwarvish fighters on their very first encounter with him. And his physical description differs a little bit from what he appears like later on. Oh, you just started the audiobook yesterday, The Dark Elf. Oh, okay. Is that by R.A. Salvatore? Hey, X-Poison. Nice to see you. So X-Poison is another one of the adventurers in the game that I was running yesterday. I had a really good time running that game. It was good. It deviated from my plan almost immediately. Well, yeah, so the gods of lore don't really intervene in a lot of stuff, but they did. And so you want to look at the Wind Dukes of Aqua, for instance, which are essentially the genie, air genie, elemental lords of the plane of air. And they became very involved in the war against chaos, because genies have the ability to cast wish, for instance. So they can reorder the universe after it's disrupted by chaos. And it was them who crafted the Rod of Seven Parts to enforce order on the universe. And of course, kill Mishka, the wolf spider, and depose the Queen of Chaos. They couldn't do anything about Demogorgon, though. Yeah, I'm not surprised, Gerbil. It's a lot of fun DMing. You like chaotic good dragons and characters? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, the dry narrator. Yeah. They're kind of like that. My breadth of knowledge grows exponentially. It feels that way sometimes, along with the quality of a channel. Kudos to you, sweet as, bro. No worries, Damien. Thanks, man. Yeah, I know that. It's like I can't think of many other people who immerse themselves every single day in learning more about Dungeons and Dragons. But after running this channel for 5 years, 3 years pretty much solidly as researching lore and stuff, it starts to gel together quite a bit. But one of the things that I've learned really after reading all of this stuff on Dungeons & Dragons is that there is so much more for me to cover, honestly. And it's ever increasing. And now that the game is more popular than it's ever been, we're in the midst of just a typhoon of creative outpouring through the DMs Guild and things like that, which makes previous decades of the game pale in comparison. Like the amount of options that you have available to you now to customize your game to however you see fit is mind-boggling. You can really, really specialize your D&D to however you want it to be. So I'm constantly railing against any notion from people that there is a correct way to play Dungeons and Dragons. There is not. There is a printed in the main books way of playing Dungeons and Dragons, and even in that, every single book that they publish, they tell you, if you don't like something, change it. Make the game your own. As soon as the game hits the table and starts turning into an improvisational storytelling adventure with you and your friends, a shared experience in a mental realm that you've crafted yourselves, where everybody contributes, not just the Dungeon Master, then the books are just a signpost, really. You're creating a unique environment. So there is no wrong way to imagine something. Hey AJ, can you shed some light on how D&D base stats can be mapped to our world? E.g., does everyone in our world have 18 in strength, dex, etc.? Connor, that's a good question. So one of the channels which I really love, excuse me, I'm just going to... That's a guinea fowl. They make that chirping noise because they're upset about something. the weather, or I don't know, being alive, who knows. So there's a D&D channel called Dorks of Yore, which is run by Pat Kilbane, and he does RPG science, where he compares sports science with statistics for D&D. And for instance, dexterity directly relates to nerve conductivity speed. So dexterity is how fast you can react to something. That's it's as simple as that. Strength is your raw muscle power, and all that implies. So yeah, it's really quite interesting, and it really the people who designed the stats in the first place, Gary Gygax and the Blooms, all of that stuff that they designed right from the very beginning. And the reason why statistics haven't really changed a heck of a lot in Dungeons and Dragons this entire time is because they are very accurate to reality. They are a very good reflection of what reality is actually like. How strong is an elephant, for instance? What size category is it? What strength it has? How much muscle power it has? How much it can lift and carry? It's quite accurate. Like, for instance, I've just been producing the video on Glabrizu, which I'm going to be uploading later on tonight, and I worked out how much it can lift and carry around with those big pincer claws of it, and how terrifying being grappled by one of those things is. So if it grabs you with both of those pincers, its strength of 19 and its large size means that it can lift something like 544 kilograms or 1,200 pounds. So it can lift 1,200 pounds with one pincer. So it can pick up your fully armored, plate armored Goliath and toss him right across the room, or slam him down on top of some stalagmites or something like that and just pulverize them. Or grab an ordinary person and just tear them in half, because 544 kilograms of searing force with those pincers being able to squish you, it's quite painful. So, and you also look at, always keep in mind that the average human has stats across the board of 10. So 10 is the average human. 0, that's the base rate for an adult human who is not an extraordinary fighter or anything like that. So, and they also only have about 1d8 hit points at best. So your average human's only got about 6 to 8 hit points at the most. So when you look at monsters and you see that one attack by a lion's claws, for instance, or a bite, or a Glabrizu swiping with its fist, or being able to punch somebody with 2d4 hit points of force, they can kill a human in one blow quite easily. And your average peasant just can't withstand that sort of punishment. They will die. So yeah. Dorks of Yore, Dorks of Yore, oh boy. I'm very, very excited because the documentary that Pat Kilbane and his team of 4 really talented individuals has been working on, it's a history of Dungeons and Dragons with interviews with all of the people who basically played the original D&D games, created the characters that we all know and love, and shaped the game. Like the person who created the class Rogue, the thief, for instance. All of these guys getting interviewed and talking about Gary Gygax's career, the development of the game, how it developed, how TSR fell to pieces, and all that sort of stuff. I'm really, really looking forward to it, and the production quality on that video is going to be fantastic. It's currently kickstartering to polish off the distribution and production values of the final piece. But yeah, I've been a patron of Pat Kilbane and Dorks of Yore for a while, and watching little snippets of interviews and things like that, and little bits of memorabilia like Gary Gygax's original maps, things like that. Oh boy, it's really, really fascinating. As a D&D file, as I am, it was absolutely fantastic. Hey AJ, I've got to go, but please answer my 3 questions. Is there any kind of life in gods left in the multiverse of the Oberon? Gods left in the multiverse of the Oberith? No, the Oberithian multiverse is dead. It was destroyed as they left it. Are there gods in the Far Realm? No, not as we know it. They are at best psychic primordials. And how the fudge can a multiverse die? It dies because nothing exists anymore to witness it. All life in it is gone, and it has no capacity to make any more. So the multiverse of the Oberith is dead. All of the stars have died. It's just a cold blackness with neutron stars burning away many light years distance from each other, so that there's no light that reaches anywhere. It's completely pitch black and inert, essentially, with nothing but black holes and neutron stars. Yeah, an intelligence of 8.3, I guess. Yeah, all of them have correlations. Strength 19, he's only as strong as Wulfgar. Well, Wulfgar is tremendously strong. There was one instant where he picked up one of the leaders of the 10 towns with like one arm and just hoisted him off the ground and stared at him and uttered a phrase. Now, I don't know about you. I'm a reasonably strong guy, but I couldn't lift up one person with one arm and stare them in the face and mutter a phrase at them. That implies that he can lift like a couple of 100 kilos easily. Hey Jacob, if you could ask any question to any one god, not AO or higher, who would it be and what? One question. How do I cast Wish in the prime material plane of Earth? And I think I would ask that of Bane, probably, because he wouldn't care. I don't know. Why not? It's a good question, actually. Which god would I talk to? Not maybe Torm. Probably not Tempest. Lathander, perhaps. I don't know. Mystra. I might ask Mystra. It's like, why can't I cast this wish spell on Earth? Yeah, 15 times your strength score is the carrying capacity in the 5th edition player's handbook. 15 times your strength is accurate, yes. So a person with a strength of 9 below average could carry around 130 pounds. They can lift 130 pounds. Carrying is less than that. So they're like, ugh! They can hoist 130 pounds up, but they can't walk 5 miles with it. Yeah, poor old Greed Dragon here is a bit starved today. But we are going to extend the chat by 13 minutes, thanks to the donations today. Remember, if anybody wants to donate, every $1 donated extends the live stream another minute. And also you can like ask me questions and shout me a pizza. Hey Jacob. You forgot about the stream, Mithridates? Yeah, wisdom is observation. So wisdom is your active intelligence. Like you don't necessarily need to remember anything in order to react to your environment. A good example is a chimpanzee. So chimpanzees don't have a huge level of intelligence. Humans do. So we will remember how things work. Chimpanzees will have a vague recollection of things, but they've got an observational wisdom much higher than a human being. So if you put down a picture and then flick to another picture which is exactly the same except it's got 6 things which are different, the chimp will spot those 6 things superhumanly fast compared to a human. Humans will know all sorts about the picture, be able to interpret all the shapes and things on the picture, discern some meaning and associated relationships between different elements of the picture with a puzzle solving ability which is far beyond the chimpanzee in the long range and long-term memory. But they'll probably miss the 6 differences because they're generalizing. They're looking for connections and patterns rather than stark differences. So that's one of the differences between wisdom and intelligence. So if a creature's got a high wisdom score, not only is it reasonably wise, so it's observing differences in the environment. So it knows that rain is coming because it's observed something immediately, which indicates that rain is imminent. Whereas a human will know with a high intelligence score that an area is particularly prone to this type of weather, and they may see a cloud formation which indicates that the weather is a certain way because they read a book where they remember that that's what's going on. So wisdom is observation. So wisdom can also indicate a creature has got a very good passive perception of what's going on. So it's got a sensory perception which is better than a normal human being. So it might not necessarily have an understanding of things, but it will be able to see more things. Then that's what the reflection of the high wisdom score is. So it's not necessarily wise per se. Wisdom implying understanding. It's just observing. Pizza. Yeah, I know. Hey, Christopher. Big fan of your videos. Will you ever make a lore video about the Queen of Chaos, or is it already made? Yeah, oh boy, it's on my list of things to do. I certainly want to make a video about the Queen of Chaos and about Mishka the Wolf Spider. Hey, Tracy. Wow. Okay, another 10 minutes. Woo. 18. It's going to be a long stream day. Thank you very much. Forgot about the stream. Also, shouldn't Mystra be able to be in all multiverses? She is the mother of magic. Yeah, essentially. So she's one of the greater gods. So so much as mentioning Mystra means that she's present and aware of that plane of existence for something like 3 years or something like that. There's actually stats for all of it that they established back in, I think maybe 2nd edition, I believe it was. Gods and deities and demigods, or something like that. What's with the god of magic constantly dying? Well, things get out of hand with magic, really. That's the fun aspect of it, and it just goes to show that you can't keep a god of magic down. You can't keep a good god down. This guy. In a universe where AO is slightly less in control than he is made out to be. So AO is only really in control of a sphere of existence. Toril. That's it. Not even the entirety of Toril, really. So AO is an overgod of the pantheons of Faerun. And was probably somewhat pivotal in the organizing of things in the Dawn War. Because a lot of gods came from other planes of existence. So maybe AO came from another plane of existence as well. So AO is not involved in any way in the plane that holds Greyhawk, Earth, and not involved in Eberron at all. So yeah. So there's a lot less restrictions in these other planes of existence as well. But also, AO actually makes it easier for somebody to become a god in Faerun. Excuse me. Because he's the one that controls the elevation. So once somebody has met all the requirements, then essentially AO analyzes whether that entity is capable mentally of sustaining the massive awareness required to exist on multiple planes of existence at once, because it's literally schizophrenia. That's okay, Tracy. You can always go back and watch the start of the stream. It's like your mind's attunement to the world around it through its senses. Yeah, exactly. 130 is minimum for Mensa and is gifted. 140 is border genius, and 99.6% people are stupider. 150 is genius. Einstein was 160. 170 is maximum. Tesla. And 37 people have 180. 12 have 185, and 7 have 190. That's assuming a standardized test taken by all of them. And exactly what is it measuring for? Mental agility, straight recall, puzzle solving, moving shapes around in your head, looking at things from a different point of view. See you later, Mark. Who knows if any of them are functional humans? Yeah, that's true. Awesome intelligence comes with its own problems. You saw the announcement 3 times. Well, it's good that it announced. I'll have to keep doing that, obviously. Can you keep a bad god up? Yes. Me. I open the door. DM, are you sure? Not anymore. Hey, Mr. Fluga. Here's to you too, Jacob. Yeah, magic is a dangerous and very powerful portfolio. That's true, Mimi. As Sirikan Shah's assassination is an example of, yeah. Thanks, Deb. Gesundheit. Thrice blessed. So, if Ao is only the prime god of the Turelian Pantheon, yeah, I call it Turelian Pantheon as well, does he have any influence on things on the other planes within the crystal sphere in which Toril floats? Yeah, kind of. In a negotiational sort of diplomatic sense. Like, the Celestial Court of Karatur probably converses with Ao on occasion. But Ao is very standoffish. Ao is kind of interested in what comes after. He's an agent of a greater multiversal power. So he doesn't conform to the normal laws of gods and such. He doesn't need worshippers or anything like that. He exists beyond that and before that even happened. Have I ever made homebrew gods and of what? Yes, I have. I actually made a player character that was turned into a god of another campaign. Fireball. My school district councillor told me my IQ was 129. I am absolutely terrible at IQ tests, and I don't think I've ever completed one of them because I've always thought I've seen how they work and gone, meh. I don't think that's an accurate reflection. Also, I've definitely gotten a lot smarter as I got older, because your brain is like a muscle, you know, you've got to keep working it out. And if you spend every single day essentially immersed in lore and creativity, yeah, you build it up. My brain is like a bodybuilder. My brain is swole, yo. Axe poison! Hey Trey, boy, you're late to this stream. You've got 18 minutes left thanks to the donations. Happy donations of everybody. Bye, Chris. Does D&D have an accounting god? I would say that yes. Erathis, the god of civilization, probably a lot of accounting involved in that. You haven't missed everything. We're still going to be around for 18 minutes. So if you've got any questions, Brandon, you can certainly contribute. Ask the question that you wish somebody asked. What else was I going to talk about? I've actually talked about everything I was planning on talking about. Sigil, the planes, magic-inspired ideas and combos. Dragons. Where did dragons come from? Dragons. So dragons kind of kicked off the war with the primordials in the first place. When God said, wow, elemental energy is cool, let's combine it with the biological entities that we've created. And they created dragons. And dragons were supremely cool and very, very up themselves. And the primordials did not like them. And yeah. So they kind of set up the war between the dragons and the giants, because the giants represent elemental states as well. But they're living entities that were more closely aligned with primordials, whereas the dragons weren't aligned with primordials. They were more aligned with deities, with the astral plane. So they were kind of stealing the primordials' thunder, so to speak. And the original battle lines between those two species were written in the sand from their very creation, really. But of course, giants are interesting because, and particularly on the world of Toril, they're not native to Toril originally. Anam Allfather came to Toril from somewhere else. Whether he arrived during the Dawn War or some such, who knows? Baelor versus Imp, which would you choose? Clearly a Baelor. Imps don't have a lot of luck against creatures which have got true sight. So even an imp versus Glabrezu, for instance, the imp is not going to get you very far because the Glabrezu can see exactly where it is all the time. IQ was never meant to be used to test adults. Really? Well, that's interesting. Truth, you get smarter as you get older, kids. It's true. Yep. You become tempered by your staggering awareness of your own ignorance. Yeah, Sirik and Shah were definitely fools. Hey, Bromas. Can a primordial become a god? Yes. Yep. Essentially, they can have all of the powers and portfolios of a god, but they can never be an astral entity like a god. So primordials are never really dependent on souls, because their power is tied directly into the inner planes, whereas the gods are tied to the outer planes. So that's one of the ways you could define a primordial, actually. It's not tied to the astral sea, not tied to the astral plane or the plane of limbo. They are tied to a primordial force of nature, which has no entropy. So essentially a primordial's power is potentially limitless. So they can create, destroy worlds, which they did. The gods were less powerful than the primordials in many ways, and still are, really. If Mystra dies permanently, what would happen? Well, first of all, most of the structure of the weave of magic would dissipate. So you would end up with magic being still available for people, except instead of there being a flow of magic which can be drawn upon safely without disrupting the natural world, drawing on magic would essentially drain the vitality out of the natural world. So in order to use magic, you would have to steal energy from living entities, which would stress them to the point of death. So particularly on the world Dark Sun, for instance, Athos, that's exactly what happens. If you draw any magic from the environment, it bleaches the land. It's like toxic radiation. So that would be the long-term effect of Mystra's death. Her immediate effect of her death would be powerful spells that are ongoing, which are sort of channeled through her, would stop. So a lot of the elven mythals would not work. You might have a return of the blue flyer, for instance, the spellfire, and you'd have things like mythals like in Waterdeep and things like that stopping, or planet portals that were once open would then close, or only open randomly, sporadically, according to the movement of planets and things. And you might have creatures that had sorcerer's potential run completely rampant and amok, so that they can't help but channel magic all the time, and it mutates them into demons or some such. Yeah, basically if Mystra dies, Dark Sun, that's what happens. Birds. Burbs. Vorpal Blade or Holy Avenger? I'll take the Vorpal Blade, thanks. There's not a lot of unholy things to fight around here. Gods, dragons, primordials, no dragons. Civil War. Yep. So the primordials started shit over being jellies of the dragons. Well, the gods did it as an affront to the primordials in the first place. The dragons certainly did try to murder all the giants, and the giants tried to murder all of the dragons. Eventually, it was the elves that screwed the dragons over with the Dragon Rage mythol that was tied into the King Killer Star. So, those elves. The stinking elves, man. But it's the end of the Dragon Rage mythol now in the modern D&D, which a lot of people aren't really talking about. Dragons no longer have the potential of going crazy on a periodic basis. You're seeing me directly from Brazil. Nice. Hey, Gabriel. That's cool to hear. Way too much random chaos, then the devils show up and murder everyone. Essentially, yeah. Fighting chaos with evil. Hey, £5. Wow, that's another 10 minutes. Cool. So we've extended out to 28 minutes. That's another 20 minutes, everyone. 21 minutes. AJ, will you ever cover alternative settings like Dolmen Wood? I've never even heard of Dolmen Wood. I'm curious now. I'm going to write that down. So yeah, there's a potential that I will. For instance, I talked about Warhammer 40k orcs and what they are like, and what it possibly would be like if they encountered orcs from the world of Toril. So yeah, I would love to make videos about the lore of like Judge Dredd from 2000 AD, or Strontium Dog, or Rogue Trooper, or Traveller universe, for instance, the Droin and the Vagra and Aslan, or you name it, man. Palladium books, Century Station, Scrat, and that sort of stuff. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, TMNT and Other Strangeness, Ninjas and Super Spies, Beyond the Supernatural, Mifrog. Or book series, the difference between magic and sorcery in the Magician series by Raymond E. Feist, for instance. Fantastic subjects for videos. Vorpal Baneblade. Baneblade! Yeah, elves cannot be trusted. They keep their own secrets. Eldritch Knight in D&D. The Eldritch entities entered into the primordial gods stuffs in this conversation. Whoa! Sorry, Ozdark, I'm having difficulty interpreting that sentence. I know than exist Eldritch Knights in D&D, how them, that Eldritch entities enter into the primordial god stuffs in this conversation. Or where are they exactly? If where applies, where are the primordial? If an Eldritch Knight enters into the I don't understand. Pirates or ninjas? I'm going to go with ninja pirates. It's possible. I like it that we always get back to the topics of gods and primordials. It seems to be the majority of the things that I talk about in D&D. It's like, don't you want to know about like what the goblins had for breakfast? Fire giants hunt red dragons. Yep. Fire dragons are Fire giants are cool. I really like fire giants. They're one of my favorites. You thought you were done, but he pulls you back in. I'm asking a lot of questions, but here's one. Is there a god of alcohol? Well, there's a plane, like the plane of Elysium, for instance. There's certainly drunkenness and debauchery there, and also the Norse gods are known to be into partying and reveling and heavy drinking, and then getting up in the morning and going in and murdering everybody again. So anywhere where you've got a god that's got a portfolio for basically dancing and song and celebration and beauty and stuff like that, that's kind of tied in with it as well. And any incident where you've got a god which has got crossovers with the Fae, that's kind of implied that there's wine, women, and song involved in that as well. So I don't know if there's specifically a portfolio for alcohol, but yeah, there might be one for song, or something like that, or yeah. But otherwise, alcohol is just a substance, so to speak. It's the mental attitude that goes behind the drunkenness in the first place, whether it's revelry, whether it's depression, whether it's used for medicine, like sterilizing and things like that. That's different portfolios again. So medicine, for instance, alcohol is used a lot in medicine. Cleaning, domestic supplies, cleaning floors and windows and things, alcohol is used a lot in that too. Fire, it's a flammable substance. That's another portfolio again. So it crosses a lot of different boundaries. What do goblins smell like? Awful. Generally bad. What do goblins have for breakfast? Anything they can catch and preferably torture. Particularly if it's something that they caught a week ago. Goblins have virulently, violently bad diets. They are not only are they adapted to live on very little, they prefer. They've adapted to prefer a diet of things that other entities wouldn't eat. So they literally can't eat things which are scraped off the ground underneath a bird, for instance. They will eat moss and twigs and foul mushrooms and things like that by preference, because nothing else eats that stuff, and they've adapted to eat it all the time anyway. So, yeah. Essentially, if it's got some organic value to it, it doesn't really matter what it tastes like. If it doesn't harm you in the eating of it, then goblins will probably prefer it over something which is sweet and lovely. Case in point is a picture I saw of a goblin that was sitting at a bar next to a barbarian and a dwarf, I think it was. They were drinking out of tankards, and the goblin was holding up a rat and squeezing out a stream of urine into its mouth with great gusto. That was, according to the goblin's sense of taste, a fine cocktail. So they're gross. In fact, I might actually have a random roll table for that somewhere. What you find in a goblin's pockets or a kobold's pockets. 2000 AD is so cool. People do not know how cool it is. Unfortunately, I'm one of the old school D&D, old school 2000 AD fans. Borag Thung Earthlets, Tharg the Mighty. I've been a reading droid for a long time. Oh, that's very interesting, Gabriel. There's now a very low fantasy setting called Belregard in development in Brazil now. It's actually interesting to contrast D&D with its high fantasy. Yeah, absolutely. Like, for instance, Game of Thrones is a low fantasy, a low magic setting as well. Dionysus. There you go, Zach. Now you're talking. That's a god of drinking for sure. Goblins will eat human jerky for sure. Are goblins GMO free and gluten free? They're certainly not GMO free. And I would say they are gluten free, yeah. But they're not vegan. Nor are they paleo. New Dread or Old Dread? Are you talking about the movies? Definitely New Dread. Carl Urban is my homeboy. Well, goblins have got a place in. I guess the goblins have a place in the Underdark ecology for sure. They're a upper Underdark species mainly. They don't venture very low into the Underdark often. Yeah, so I guess they're probably responsible for a lot of the humanoid settlements in barren areas and things. So if you can see that if you're traveling through the wilderness, for instance, of Dungeons and Dragons, there may not be human activity around that leads you to an oasis of water or something like that, but there may actually be a lot of goblinoid activity in that area. So you'll recognize goblin footprints and artifacts and detritus of their civilization, and recognize that this is a place where there's probably resources that you can eke out of there. Of course, goblins have no problem with fouled water, so they might even foul up a water supply just so it's more suitable for their use than a regular lily-livered human who can't handle that sort of corruption. And elves, of course, would avoid anything with goblins. Of course, dwarves are a lot more hardy. They're used to living in kind of hard conditions. So for them, they might get some water and liberally dose it with salt and then strain the salt out of it and then drink it to kill off any bacteria or anything in there. Or they might filter it through some chalk, to get rid of the goblin stink out of it, but they'll still drink it and handle it. No one goes into the lower Underdark. Drow, Mind Flayers, the Crawling King, lower Underdark is scary. It is scary, very much so. That's where you find filth and demons and the very darkest and most evil things. Undead and, of course, aboleths. and the tombs of the things which have fallen, have sunken. So yeah, and particularly in Forgotten Realms, it's the oldest dungeons are the lowest, so they've been built up on and up on and up on and up on. So successive layers of history, the eras, the epochs. So you've got the time of the Days of Thunder and the original creator races. So if you go really, really low in the Underdark, there's these ziggurats and things like that, which have sunken into the lower Underdark, that hold terrible sacrificial orgies of the Yuan-Ti and the Patriarchy empires and bird people and all that sort of stuff. Avians. The Crawling King Torog from 4th edition. Not recognised as canon by a lot of people who didn't play 4th edition. What's everybody going ew about? Are goblins green or brownish? They're kind of a sallow yellow, but they range in different colours. Green is more of a UK Warhammer 40k colour for goblins. Essentially, goblins of Forgotten Realms are very much like the goblins of, well, and in Lord of the Rings, for instance, the goblins were human men, corrupted men per se, whereas the orcs were like corrupted elves. I don't know. You'll have to ask Stephen Colbert. He knows a lot more about elves than I do. Goblins also daub themselves with paint, and they decorate themselves very tribally. So yeah. Carl Urban has an epic frown for someone as handsome as him. Yeah, it's true. He's got that resting Viking face, much like I do. So on my day-to-day, when I'm not like talking to people, I'm just like reading a book or something, I look like this. Resting Viking face. And somebody asks me a question, I'm like, huh? What do you mean? I'm not angry. This is what my face is always like. Can't help it. I scowl. Last question, I promise. Can AO demote or destroy gods at will? Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. He can go wipe out Bane. It's like, welcome to being immortal. Time of Troubles, perfect example. Yeah, it's true. We've got 8 more minutes, Samuel. See you later, Mimi. Who is the demon prince of winged fiends? That would be Pazuzu, prince of the lower aerial kingdoms. Why aren't there more bubbles and foam in D&D? I've been working on a few foam monsters that mature into bubble monsters. Oh, I get what you're talking about. I'm not going down that road. What do I reckon is my favourite campaign setting? That would be probably Planescape. Probably Planescape, I would say. I really love the idea of not being restricted to any one world or plane of existence. In fact, I quite often take off from the regular plane of existence very early on in campaigns, just to introduce that fantastic idea of you can go anywhere and do anything in D&D. And do that to Vecna, he can't, and he won't. See, AO is not interested in the good or evilness of any particular entity. He's only interested in the proper functioning of the multiverse, and Vecna holds the key to several secrets that must not be revealed. He's kept Shah around because Shah is a counterpoint to the light of the other deities. So, in the interest of overall general neutrality. So, it's a big picture thing. What happens if AO decides to start over? I don't think AO has a choice in the matter. See you later, Jacob. Kobold versus Goblin. I don't think there'll ever be a conclusion to that. The main problem with kobolds is that they're draconic, So before all the kobolds got wiped out, the dragons would get involved and wipe out all the goblinoids. And since some of the dragons are aligned with the goblinoids, it would never get that far. So I think on an individual basis, one-on-one, a kobold and a goblin would be a fairly even match, but I think goblins have got a little bit of an advantage on an individual kobold, given that the kobold can't prepare the combat environment beforehand. If they do have a chance to do that, then the goblin won't even get close to the kobold before it gets caught up in a trap and killed, or at least sufficiently impaired so that the kobold can just come over and coup de grace the goblin. Yeah, if AO decides to start over, there's numerous ways that could happen. I wouldn't say that would be a restart of everything. Essentially, if Tharizdun got released, there are certain things that would happen, which I actually discuss in an exclusive video on for my patrons. So those of you who are patrons would know what I'm talking about if Tharizdun gets released. Kobolds, yeah, I'd vote for kobolds personally. Yeah, exactly. I always like kobolds for the fact that there's an excuse as to why there are torches in long abandoned dungeons. Yeah, well, I mean, if you're setting up a dungeon or something like that, obviously you'd want a light source down there for you, or you'd reset the place. So you'd carry down a big load of torches, essentially just to restock the torches that you use down there. So you'd use up the torch in a room, and then you'd chock a new torch in place for the next time you go down there. So it's quite possible that old dungeons have got fresh torches just waiting to be lit. You made it in time, sup AJ. Hey Greenscythe. Barely. You've got 4 minutes left of the stream, unless somebody donates to extend it. Don't get what you think I'm typing about, nor do I need to. I mean, foaming rabbit and bubbles like sphere of force. Oh, I see. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, no, there's a particular type of pictures involving bubble entities. And that's what I thought you were getting at. You're trying to trap me into talking about stuff. It's the problem, you can't get rid of Tharizdun. You can't get rid of Tharizdun, you can't get rid of AO, and you can't get rid of the Lady of Pain. You could possibly get rid of Asmodeus. Heresy. Kobold Master Race. The Gru. Yeah, I do actually. The Chaoti and the Gru and things like that from the Far Realm. I should probably make some videos about them as well. Particularly the Chaoti, as they're quite important lore-wise. Yeah, but I do like those. I like pretty much anything Far Realmsy. Alright everybody, last couple of minutes. It's been great chatting with you all. It's too late. I've announced the end. Yeah, they do kind of tolerate each other for the most part. Lady of Pain one-on-one with Tharizdun, who wins? It would never happen because Tharizdun is still restricted from entering the cage. So Lady of Pain could just retreat to the cage. Tharizdun could not enter. You shall not pass. Not a problem, Fiona. I hope you enjoy. Chaoti portals to the Far Realm. Yeah. Do not stare into the Far Realm, for it will warp you. If Grass ever gets close to his master plan coming about, will AO or anyone else stop him? Maybe. Don't know. Who would win in a boxing match, AO or the Lady of Pain? Well, maybe neither. Maybe that's like beating themselves up. Maybe they are aspects of the same entity. Have fun with my fowl. Yeah, they're actually pretty good. I like, particularly the chickens. The chickens are pretty sweet. They're nice little entities. They're not nearly as crazy as you think. Particularly the dark ones. The dark ones are pretty chill. But we've got a number of different types of chickens, and of course the guinea fowl and ducks. See you in the next stream, everybody. Look forward to the video which I'm going to be uploading to this evening on the Glabrizu. And I'll catch you all later. Have a good time. Enjoy games. Be nice to each other. Vote in whatever political system you are a part of. Chickens are very brave. Brave or stupid is a fine line. Alright, see you everyone.